It's gonna be legendary. It's gonna be
No,
legendary.
no. This is a full legendary.
Wait for it.
There we go.
And I hope you're not lactose intolerant because the second half of that word is dairy.
Well, with that, make sure your week is legend. Wait for it. No, I What's up, Legends? Welcome to another episode of Week of Legends. I'm your host, Chobra. She's been bringing you the LCK news for 2 years, catching every interview she can, tending to her home garden, and also a bit of a musician herself. It's none other than the global LCK journalist, Ashley Kang. How are you doing, Ashley?
I'm doing pretty well, and thank you for having me. How are you doing yourself, Chobra?
I'm doing pretty well myself. Now, you've been doing this for 2 years. How many interviews do you think you've done with LCK players?
400? 500?
That is a lot. Well, I want to ask more about those interviews, but there's a lot of LCK we need to talk about today. So let's get started right away with the top 5 plays from last week. At number 5. This clip's coming in hot from Sunday with Chovy on the block. Do you remember this play?
Yes, I do. And if you see here, Chovy doesn't waste any skill or auto attack here. He's landing everything perfectly. He's darting in and out of the tower upgrade. So I would say that he deserves the triple kill here.
Absolutely. And with that pure finesse, Chovy comes in at number 5. And at number 4.
This must be Beryl on Thresh. And throughout the summer, Beryl has been making highlight reels on off-meta picks such as Pantheon, but this time he is back on more traditional support.
Yeah, and he goes for the hook, but the real highlight is the flash forward to block the Galio from escaping, and that's how Beryl not only carries Damwon to victory, but brings him in at number 4. Number 3.
Comes with his teleport, and the knockup immediately comes in. They're going to get at least lands in the front line, but another follow-up.
South Africa Freaks didn't have the greatest spring split as they unfortunately missed out on the playoffs. However, coming to the summer, they are once again seeming to be finding that team synergy, which is showcased in this current team fight.
They're finally going to get Viper. Took a little while, but
In number 2.
down to half health. Oh, parallel convergence. He's going to get a big shield there for BDD as Canna gets that slicing Maelstrom. Massive damage into the backline and cleared.
Now, it may not seem like it right now, but this actually ends up being the game-winning moment for this game.
This seems to be a mix of a terrible misplay from Genji's Bard, freezing up his own teammate Bolivier, and T1 punishing their mistake and turning the tide around in a very clutch moment.
Yeah, once again, you see, never ever slip up against T1 as they come in at number 2.
T1 have found their dream team fight.
And the best play of the week.
Cleared. He's going to go golden. Rule is going to turn up, but now Root gets into the right position. Oh my god, the kiting.
This is the type of highlight reel you see from the very top Ashe players, utilizing her slow as well as her range, and you can just see how confident Ruler is on his favorite AD carry champion.
It's just so beautiful, and there you have it. Ruler rules the top 5. Now there's one more clip that's personally my favorite, and I want to show it to you real quick.
Oh, really?
Oh man.
Oh man.
I love it.
More celebration.
I really love DRX Posic. He brings that personality and the sense of having fun onto the stage, and it's just really great to see more characteristics and more narratives here at the Summer Split.
I mean, who are some of your favorite personalities in the LCK?
Coming from an interviewer's perspective, I really love talking to Noguri because he's so sincere and vibrant.
네, 저도 약간 경기 이기고 막 지금처럼 신날 때도 인터뷰는 하고 싶거든요. 그래서
Whenever I have a conversation with him, he looks back at you when I'm talking to him, which is not always a common trait in Korea. He would listen to your questions and try to give a really in-depth answer, and he'll be very candid about his own opinion. So Noguri is one of the players that I absolutely adore talking to whenever the occasion is.
The sincerity coming out and just the effort he puts in to share his thoughts.
감사합니다.
수고하셨습니다.
Who are some of the players that have changed the most during your 2 years with the LCK, where they've shown a little bit more character or maybe evolved as a person?
When you ask me the question, I think of ShowMaker. ShowMaker was always a bit shy, soft-spoken, but recently in the Summer Split, I see a newfound confidence in him. You hear it in the voice comms where he would say, hey, I'll carry. I want the pentakill or I'm gonna throw.
Let it go. Give it.
And he has been much more expressive about his own confidence in his skills as well as his future goals and future plans in my interviews. So it's been a pleasure showing ShowMaker come out of his shell a bit more in this split.
킹언이랑 다전제해가지고 3대 0으로 진 기억이 있어가지고
맞아.
게다가 거기에 정수 감독님도 계시기 때문에 또 복수하러 올라가겠습니다.
You say, these players have gotten to become more expressive and they're a little bit more comfortable showing their character a bit. I would say that we see that a bit in-game as well, as we see LCK teams trying to play a little bit more aggressively, trying to play a little bit more bloodthirsty on Summoner's Rift. Are we seeing that across the board, across all teams, or maybe is it only a certain teams that stand out?
I think the 4 teams have stood out when it comes to an upgrade, and those 4 teams are T1, Genji, Diamond Gaming, and DRX. After the MSC, when I talked to the various players from the 4 teams, the common narrative was, yes, we wonder if we should reference the LPL playstyle.
LPL 팀이 한국 팀들도 다 꺾고 올라가고 우승한 거 보면서 저희도 그런 부분에서 LPL한테 배울 게 많다고 생각하고
제가 봐도 MSC를 다녀온 팀들이 다 같은 방향으로는 아니겠지만 각자의 이제 팀 해석에 따라서 일단 확실히 스타일이 바뀌고 있는 건 맞는 것 같아요.
And when I looked at the statistics, it showed that those 4 teams are having shorter games and much higher kills per minute.
Yeah, that makes sense actually, because we had Wadid on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was expressing his hope for the LCK to adapt, especially after the MSC, where
we got stomped in MSC. That's why we got stomped. We can stomped. Yeah, I got stomped, so it was just disaster.
Who do you think is going to stomp this week in the LCK?
So I'm not sure about one-sided stomping. That one match that I'm really excited for is Diamond Gaming versus DRX, which I expect to be a very close series.
That should be a good one. In fact, let's actually pull up the schedule for this week's matches. As you mentioned, Ashley, Diamond Gaming versus DRX, that's Saturday. That is the highlight of the week. But of course, throughout the week, we have Team Dynamics, who's also being tested up against Genji versus T1. And Sandbox Gaming has a bit more of a chance to continue climbing the ranks and get some wins under their belt. But let's go back to Diamond Gaming versus DRX. I mean, looking at the matchups, this is the best match for the week.
I do hope that it's going to go to Game 3.
Absolutely. In fact, if we take a look at the standings, they're currently ranked 1 and 2. So this could actually help determine who's going to be securing that first seed as we near the halfway mark of the summer split. Of course, we also see T1 and Genji currently tied at 4th, and see if one of these teams can break away and try to climb into that top 3 setting. Sandbox Gaming currently at 8th. We talked about them briefly, but we have to mention YamatoCannon fully operational now in the LoL Park. Do you think that that really can help Sandbox climb a couple ranks?
It is true that Sandbox had a very difficult early schedule, as they had to face the powerhouse LCK teams earlier on. And now they look towards to facing a relatively lower standing LCK teams, and now YamatoCannon is here, a leader who is known to boost the morals of the team.
We are going to strive to be the first. We're going to work as if we want to be the first. We're starting from a point where it is going to be difficult, but it wouldn't be prestigious, it wouldn't be amazing, it wouldn't be a challenge if it wasn't difficult. I think in Sandbox case, they were more successful in past years, and I think 9th place is definitely not where they belong. I think the players and the staff has the capacity to do way more. So I'm just going to step in and tweak a little bit, some few things, and I'm sure we're going to do some great things.
I think Sandbox has a chance to gain a good momentum in the next 2 coming weeks.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on Sandbox as the summer split continues. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Ashley.
No, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being such a wonderful host.
Everyone, be sure to check out Ashley on Horizon Esports here on YouTube for more winners interviews with translations. For more content like this, subscribe right here on T1 Fighting, and give us a like if you enjoyed this week's episode, and let us know who your favorite personalities are down in the comments below. With that, have a legendary week.